So, in India, like the rest of the world perhaps, we saw the three brothers or the three sisters of Detroit, and we used to speak about the three companies in the same breath. What did you do differently where the other two were in trouble and you were not?
Very good. When you were asking that, I was thinking, I was just going back, there was almost like a year and a couple of months ago where as was pointed out, flew into Washington, D.C. I didn't know why that everybody was so twitchy about that. That's why we invented airplanes for long distance travel. But it was a tense time, and I drove the next time to the set of hearings. But you can imagine the decision that we took to go and testify on behalf of our competitors. Because we like the market to allocate precious resources, and they clearly both were headed for bankruptcy. And the judgment call that two presidents made, both President Bush and President Obama, was that the industry was so important, the recession was getting worse and worse, that you could have taken a large portion of the U.S. economy from a recession into a depression. And so we went on behalf of our colleagues for temporary help by the U.S. government. To really get at your question, we had to change the business model of Ford. And many people have asked me, could you have done that growing up in the business? Or did you need to have a different set of experiences, but related experiences, to be able to be confident enough to move decisively? Because these are huge strategic decisions that we made differently, to your point. And here are the big ones. The first one was that we'd actually match production capacity to the real demand. I know this sounds funny, but these automobile industry, these participants have argued that all their costs were fixed. They'd keep production up. They'd flood the market even during a slowdown. The dealers would have to discount the vehicles, ruin the residual values, actually delay the recovery from a recession. So we took the first action to size ourselves, to take the action that we needed to do to make the number of vehicles that people really did want and figure out how to make them profitably. The second thing that we decided was that we were going to focus on Ford. And Tata is a great company, and they purchased Jaguar and Land Rover. These are two great brands. We also divested Aston Martin. We also took down our equity position in Mazda, and we have Volvo held for sale because Ford had become a house of brands. And we all know you can't be world-class at a bunch of things simultaneously. So we love the brands, but the most important thing we decided was we were going to focus on the Ford brand. It was 85% of the business. It was back to Henry's vision of making it affordable for all of us. And you can imagine how that unleashed all the talent inside Ford worldwide because they knew exactly what they're focused on: small, medium, and large, cars, utilities, and trucks. Then the next decision we made was no more just being competitive. Every new vehicle that we design and produce would be best in class. Quality, fuel efficiency, safety, smart design, and the very best value. And I hope you just get a chance to check out the new Figo right away because it is world class. Inside, outside, fit and finish, drivability, and it's a great value. Then I think the other big decision was that, and maybe just because I've been through the geopolitical, economic ups and downs of a global economy, that I knew that we needed to accelerate the development of the new vehicles, even during the toughest of times. And what's the most important thing not to run out of? Money. So I actually went to the banks with this business plan and raised nearly $23.5 billion when the credit markets were open. So we had enough to finance the plan, all the new vehicles, and to have a cushion to withstand the worst recession since the Depression. And then maybe the last big strategic decision is decide to work together around the world. Not only the Fords, but work with the governments, work with our suppliers, work with all the participants in this business because we're all integrally interdependent. And then maybe just a relentless execution on the plan. We all, it's been, covered quite wide. We all carry our plan. There's the one Ford. Everything I said to you is right there. We even have the behaviors on the back about how we treat each other and what we're going to do and perform as a team. It works for headaches, insomnia. You can use it for anything. So those are the main things.
Okay, we're going to have time for only 2 or 3 more questions. The gentleman here, please.
And now the stage has come when there are many common parts which are being used by many manufacturers. So is that true that in the race for low-cost cars of high quality, I mean, that's what they say, but it's not been working out. We would like to hear your views.
Oh, sure. Really important question. As a matter of fact, I think that the plan that we've been talking about at Ford is actually going to enhance our ability to make even higher quality vehicles worldwide. Without naming names, I know, we all know who is going through a rough time right now. And you'll never hear me ever say anything in a disparaging way about the competition in this area. As I mentioned, I've just had the honor of 41 years now of contributing and committed to safe and efficient transportation, because that is at the most fundamental level, that's the value that we provide. And one of the things I really wanted to know about Ford was that they have a culture that they wanted to know every issue that would come up, because, you know, vehicles can be used in so many different ways, as we all know. But did we have a culture where we wanted to be the first person to know everything about every incident or accident, and where we committed to then move decisively to fix the issue and improve our design manuals so we remove that issue going forward? And I was so pleased to find out that Ford, with that long history, just like Bill Boeing and just like Henry Ford, that both of those cultures were committed to safe and efficient transportation. I'll just give you an example about how it works. When that first started to come out, one of the designs that we were looking at, we went through the entire Ford operations worldwide, and because we had pulled together, we could do that very quickly. In one operation that we had with a joint venture, we saw a design that looked very similar to the one that was in question. We also realized that we had changed the suppliers, and we were actually using a supplier that was similar to our competition. So we immediately shut down production of everything associated with that vehicle, even though we didn't even know we had a problem. And within 2 days, we had analyzed it completely. We looked at all of the data, all the customer data, realized we had a different design. We had no complaints, so we turned production back on. But that's the kind of service that you need and you want and you can't expect from the Ford Motor Company. I think that Toyota is a great company. They have a very proud history. They're going to figure this out. They're going to move decisively and get it done. When it comes to your question about the global designs, it really turns out to be a plus because you have less complexity. So when you do have an issue, you can move on it decisively. I can remember when I first arrived and I was looking at the sophistication of our vehicles. On one of our vehicles, we had 113 different options on just the console. And then we tell you that you could choose those. And of course, what was the probability of going out and finding that? Very low. But you can imagine the complexity in the vehicle when you have that much. And as customers, we don't value that. So we have dramatically simplified our product line. That means that everything about that design could be even more thoroughly tested and validated. And I think it's going to make a substantial improvement. The process that we use with the governments around the world is very robust, and it starts with our integrity, because we're the ones, in the vast majority of cases, that issues a recall. It comes from Ford, because we know the most about it. But again, it comes back to that attitude that is why we're here. We're here to provide safe and efficient transportation, and we want to know everything that happens and get it fixed right away.
Sir, I'm Jagjit Puri from Punjab.
Very good.
Bureaucrat. My simple question is, when Ford car will become solar Ford car? Ford car, as a nation, Africa has plenty of sun and almost no diesel and petrol.
Okay, the second gentleman there, yeah, shoot your question.
Hi. My question was, when we're talking about manufacturing, we're talking about maximizing production, decreasing costs. Environmentally, how long would that be sustainable? Next 50 years, what do you look at? Again, looking at the solar car, or how else do you see Ford coming into the picture?
Sure.
Thank you.
See, we designed one question for
Yep,
you.
I
So
got
there's a young man who's got his hand up for a long time.
You have a strong brand positioning like Ford had when you took over.
Yes.
And then immediately in the market, if you see that the competition is pushing you hard to make compromises, it is happening in the current context. What are the 3 points which you would be taking care of to fight competition and also not compromising your brand.
Got it.
Do you cut costs to cut corners? I mean, cut
Right.
corners to cut costs. That's the
Understand.
Yeah.
On the technology issue, I think that we are at a really critical place worldwide. And the technology roadmap, the technology that's coming to bear now gives us some real options, but we, the citizens of the world, are going to have to decide a couple of really important decisions about sustainability going forward. If you look at the technology roadmap, we clearly have a lot of room, and we're continuing to improve the internal combustion engine, whether it's a petrol or whether it's diesel. A lot of improvement for fuel mileage and CO2 reduction. We have a lot of lightweight materials that helps, integrated electronics, aerodynamics. So that's kind of the first fundamental. Plus Ford, the volume that we have when we make a change, an improvement, just like direct fuel injection and turbocharging, we make it across so many vehicles, so we have a big impact. I think the next will be more hybrids, which will be petrol or diesel and electricity. I think the next threshold will be all electricity. Now, fellow citizens, the issue with electricity is how are we going to generate the electricity, and are we going to do that clean, in addition to how we're going to use the electricity? And we have some big decisions to make, right? Because just having an electric car is not going to solve the issues that we care about when it comes to energy independence, energy security, and sustainability. The other issue is putting in the infrastructure so that we can operate the vehicles, but whether we go with electricity or whether we go with hydrogen. If you look at hydrogen, and a lot of people still believe that that could be an ultimate solution too, with very capable fuel cells, you mix hydrogen with platinum, out comes water out the tailpipe, electricity goes over to the electric motor, and you're 100% CO2 reduction. So, but again, the biggest issue is what's the infrastructure going to be that allows all of us to do this on a big scale? Solar could be, as soon as we can get the capability of the solar panels and the size and the packaging down to the place where we can use them on cars. And we always have the alternative that if the sun's not shining or we need more batteries to carry the batteries along so we can keep charging up the vehicles, it's a real system solution there. But I am so, I look so forward to that technology roadmap, but also figuring it out together with the governments, because this is the all-time public-private partnership that has to happen to create the kind of future that we all want. On the question at the end, I think the most important thing is to have a point of view about your brand and what it's going to represent to the consumers going forward. Information is ubiquitous. Everybody knows everything, and they know everything about cars. So in our view, that's why we focused on the Ford brand. That's why we decided to be best in class on quality, fuel efficiency, safety, and smart design. So every customer knows exactly when they go to get a Ford what they're going to be able to get. They're going to get the car that they want, the size that they want, and whether it's a truck or whether it's a sedan, it's going to be best in class in those characteristics. I think the next is that every vehicle that you design and produce needs to be an improvement over the one before. And from Ford, every year we're going to continue to improve the vehicle on every one of those key customer metrics. I think the next is that consistency of purpose. The brand has got to be so clear for everybody, because that's the way that you build a brand, and that's the way you keep a brand. And then back to the comment about safety and efficiency, that things happen. And the most important thing is that people want to know you're making great products. They want to know you're part of a strong business, and you're going to be there for them for a long time. And they also want to know that you have a plan to contribute to a better world. So everything that you find out is always focused on that customer and making your products better and better. And I think that we're the only company that has Ford, that's Henry Ford, and it's Ford and it's the name on the outside. And just think, my colleague, the chairman of the board, is Bill Ford. And so so it really helps as far as the brand is concerned. But I think those are the most important things. And then people will pay. They'll pay for the value that you put in a vehicle, and these vehicles will never be commodities because they're so important to our lives. So that would be my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Alan. I guess one of the lessons Toyota could draw on from this is to find the guys whose name should be put on the badge so they don't have to recall cars. But I'll end it on that note. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful.